You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers about hikers for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the podcast after a bit of a disaster out on trail and even a missed week last week. This is episode number 532 of Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, sponsored by Polar Steps. If you're heading out on a long hike this year, which I am, I've got something I think you're going to love. It's called Polar Steps. It's a travel tracking app that's going to become a favourite with hikers. You set your start date, let it run quietly in the background, and it maps your entire journey automatically, all on your own beautiful spinning 3D globe. And don't worry, the tracking feature uses about 4% of your battery on a single charge, so it's not going to kill your phone when you're out there. You can add photos and short journal entries as you go, so your map shows you where you were and your words remind you of what that day actually felt like. There's a light social layer too. Family and friends can follow along, or you can keep it completely private. As every hiker says, hike your own hike. And when you're done, you can relive the whole thing in the app or turn it into a stunning coffee table book with your route, stats, photos and stories. And did I tell you that it's entirely free to download and use? The only time you'll be paying anything is if you decide to turn your trip into a book. That's Polar Steps. Track it now, treasure it forever. So welcome back to the podcast with a somewhat ironic title as I write, because I'm not on the Appalachian Trail right now as I'd planned to be. However, as you're going to hear, I intend to be out there again the next time we catch up. I thought the best way to put this episode together is to run over what happened in those early days of this through hike attempt, then tell you what happened when I got home, and then the plans I have going forward. It's going to be a short episode with just the one interview, and that itself is very short, but I thought it was necessary to give you all an update. But first, I want to just mention how overwhelmed I've been by the messages of support since I let you all know on Facebook that I was done. Somebody wrote to me that if one good thing came out of that decision to quit at the time, it was that I discovered how much what I do here on the show is appreciated by so many of you. The messages, and I read every single one of them, were heartwarming, concerned, never judgmental, and reading them became a kind of salve to my heart. I mean, obviously, I was very down about that decision, and you were all saying, it's okay, we still love you, we still want to listen to you, and you need to get better. Kudos even for listening to your body. That was totally unexpected, and to be frank, I used that salve over the next few days to push me into a more positive frame of mind and open up the possibility that I might get back out there. And here we go. I fly back next Tuesday. So thank you. Your comments meant more to me than you'll ever know. So let's get back to just before I left for the trail. I think I noticed a slight cough on the Friday, the 6th, I believe, the weekend prior to my start day. I've always been able to shake small coughs and colds off within 24 hours, but this one stuck with me with an attendant wheeze that didn't help me get to sleep those next few nights. But I didn't worry about it. I was pretty confident that I'd be fine when I needed to. I'm not sure where this unerring belief in my own mortality comes from, but I've always been confident I can shake anything off. Turns out, of course, as often, I was wrong. So the cough developed a bit further over the weekend, and I think the excitement of getting back out there made me kind of ignore any warning signs. I knew I'd be fine. It was just a matter of time. Dana and I had a quiet weekend at home, initially trying to get past the daylight savings time and chilling out in front of sport on the TV before heading to bed around 8 p.m. on Sunday night. We didn't have to get up the following morning until about 3 a.m, but we were both awake and a little bit nervous by about 2:10 the following morning. So we drove to the airport and I didn't give my sniffs and coughs another thought. Goodbye suck. However excited you may be by where you're going, and I knew that Dana was struggling with this one. 6 months is an enormous amount of time to be away from the person you love, and I always say that people better be prepared for that, because shit gets real quick, and suddenly I was alone. I'm not normally given to great shows of emotion, preferring to go through them in my own time at my own pace, but when Dana drove off, I felt particularly alone. The last time I'd done this, back in 2019, Diane and I were separated, but we were still close, and the reality of separation hits hard once the other person drives away. I felt it then, and I know I'll feel it again this coming week when I return to the trail. The flight was uneventful and, thankfully, on time. We actually reached Atlanta about 30 minutes ahead of schedule. Ron Brown was there and his instructions worked to a T, so we headed for Amicalola, picking up another guy along the way. I've got to tell you, Ron is getting texts and calls all the time. Quite how he juggles his schedule and gets people where they need to be, I will never know. He's impressive, let me tell you. So we got to Amicalola and Ron left me to see if I could get my hiker tag because he had to pick up a young lady at the lodge further uphill. The first person I saw when I went inside was a previous guest of the show, Tonya Lonsbury, or Monarch, who had hiked the AT with her cute little dog Zobi. She's working as a ranger, I think, and she worked out how I could get my tag without sitting through the orientation that most people do. They seem to appreciate that a couple of successful through hikes should have taught me enough, apparently. So I was lucky enough to get the tag, and funnily enough, I didn't put it on my bag, but shoved it in my back pocket. I remember that when I quit 2 days later, and I still haven't put it on my bag, though I will be when I head back next week. By the way, it's tag number 760. Ron came back with this young lady, Bri from Australia, and picked me up to take me to the back end of Springer. If you've never done that ride, it is bumpy, but Ron knows every spot of the road and did the best he could to get us there safely and as comfortably as possible. At the parking lot, Bryce sat out and I stopped to do a short interview with Ron before heading up the mountain myself. Here it is. So it begins. I'm here with Ron Brown. He's just taken us from Atlanta Airport, and Bri is just walking off, an Aussie lady we met. Say hi, Bri.
Hi.
And how long have you been doing this, Ron?
20 years.
20 years. And why'd you start doing it?
Well, one day I witnessed a hiker getting ripped off by a taxi company out of Gainesville, Georgia.
All right.
I just don't like people being taken advantage of. So I did a little research, found out where they were coming in, and started going down and picking them up, taking them up here to Springer for free.
Which is quite remarkable, really.
Yep.
And you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and here I am now. I must admit, I'm nervous about this. Ron's very good. He gives everybody a pep talk when they get in the car, and also tell everybody how many miles this Toyota truck has done.
691,000.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely. And if you know this back road, you can go up the stairs, you can do the approach trail. But I did that first time, and I wasn't terribly interested in doing that for a second time. But when you get up the back route, which was about 8 or 9 miles, something like that.
8.5.
It is so bumpy, and it's a couple of times you've had to stop because there's trees in the way.
Yeah.
Right. And what do you do then?
Cut them out.
Do you?
Got to cut them out. I'll post the pictures on my Facebook, the before and after.
Right. So you've done this 20 years. Have you seen a change in hikers?
Oh, yes.
Tell me.
Oh, yes.
In what way?
I don't know. There's a lot more with the apps and everything, and it's more hiking without backpacks.
Okay.
There's a lot more that wants the slack pack.
Right.
Yeah. It's changed. It really has. It's putting it into words. I'm not really sure how to put it.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to notice a difference. It's 7 years since I last did it, and give me the perfect start to get here. So I really appreciate you coming and doing that, especially as I had a 5:30 flight out of Tampa, which wasn't in the plan originally.
No.
And we arrived early as well, didn't we?
Yep. That's it.
Got there about 7:15.
It was my honor.
Well, look, enjoy the season. I'm sure I know you do, because I can tell from it exudes from you. That you love hikers. You like
yes.
being assistance hikers. But I appreciate you coming, and thanks very much for doing
It's been an honor. It's been an honor for me. It really has.
Appreciate it, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ta. As I say, such a nice guy. I wanted to get up the mountain, but I didn't want to miss the chance of quickly chatting with him, so our conversation was short. Ron told me that he would send my duffel bag back home, but that he'd keep it for 7 days, just in case. Well, that turned out to be prescient, didn't it? As I set out up what I always refer to as that scrubby little path up Springer Mountain, the moment kind of got to me, and it was quite emotional to be starting out for the third time. I still didn't feel well, though I expected it all to magically disappear by the time I got going the following morning. As I was walking up, I thought to myself that the 10th is my proper start date, so I chose not to hit the summit that day, but to start there the following morning. It seemed more appropriate somehow. So I turned left near the top and found my way to the Springer Mountain Shelter, where there was literally nobody around. I was kind of disappointed, if I'm honest. The feeling of being alone wasn't one I was comfortable with, even early in the day. I wanted to see other hikers and share thoughts with them. I wasn't looking for a meaning of life conversation. I just wanted to chat. So I sat in the sun, in my chair, and waited for my fellow hikers to turn up. For the next, 4, maybe 5 hours, just one bloke turned up. By the way, I've forgotten everybody's name, so I apologise to those I met. But the first guy, maybe Jordan, was happy to chat for a while before he set up his tent and went for a sleep for a couple of hours. I set up my tent about 50 yards behind the shelter and wandered down to the water source to get my water for the rest of the day. I clearly didn't realise the effects of the warmth and the strength of the sun because I soon had a thumping headache, which led me to lie down for a sleep of my own for about an hour. Eventually there were 6 of us at the shelter that evening, and it was a relaxed evening, though I still felt out of sorts. I'd walked less than a mile. I just wasn't there, I guess. I'd noticed when setting up my tent that I'd felt a little confused and occasionally lightheaded, and the feeling wasn't getting any better. When I turned in as it was getting dark, I was relieved to be on my own, having yearned for company just a few hours before. Sleep never came, not for 1 second. The storm which we had been promised didn't let us down, though, battering us with a lot of lightning and plenty of thunder and rain. I was still pretty snug in my tent, though some water did get in, but I think I'd put that down to user error more than anything else. I'll have to be more careful next time I set up. Those of you who have stayed awake all night in a tent know the soul-crushing ability of that state of mind, and I wasn't an exception. I was constantly shuffling back and forth from side to side without ever getting as comfortable as I'd like, and the night seemed bloody endless. In the morning, I was slow to rise and eventually got up around 7:30 and made some coffee and biscuits and gravy, the high spot of the trip so far. As those of you regular listeners know, I'm notoriously slow to leave camp, and on this day, I didn't exactly cover myself in glory on that front either. The timestamp on my photo at the top of Springer shows that it was just before 10 a.m. before I dragged my sorry ass up there to record the start of the hike. I wasn't in a good mood. I remember this very position at the start of my 2019 hike when I was moving almost breezily for those first few miles. I felt at home. I felt lightheaded, but in a good way. This wasn't that. I was tentative. I was sluggish. I wasn't happy. I struggled for the next 4 hours as I made my way to Hawk Mountain Shelter. You can always tell when you're struggling, well I can, when you constantly check the Far Out app to see how far you've got to go. I even said, "Are we there yet?" a few times just to make myself smile. But I wasn't having any of it. I was miserable, and I was going to stay miserable. The coughing and spluttering had got worse, and which only added to the struggle. When I saw the shelter, I almost wept with relief. This section is one of the easiest on the entire trail, and I treated it like a trip through the White Mountains. It didn't bode well for the next few weeks, and I wasn't enjoying it. I don't think I've ever felt that way, and the first thought that I might quit came to me around that time. This time, the atmosphere in camp was far more convivial, with about 20 others around, including my friend Julie, who I'd met at the Woods Hole weekend last year. It was one of those beautiful evenings that are so much part of the trail experience, and in other circumstances, I would have absolutely loved it, but I didn't. And then, my tent broke. Oh my God. I thought I'd better snag a good spot and spread the tent on the floor before assembling the strut system, but there was a part of it that had sheared off. I took a few minutes trying to jerry-rig it, but it was hopeless, and one of the guys checked and told me what the problem was and that it was not fixable. I was crushed. I didn't say it at the time, but that was the last straw for me. I wouldn't say that it gave me the excuse to go home exactly, but it certainly pushed my thoughts in that direction, and an hour or so later, as we sat around for dinner, I told Julie I was leaving. I stayed the night in the shelter, then I tried to get out. A ranger had been at the camp and told me that the closest place to get out was at Hightower Gap, just a half-mile further north and downhill from our camp. I borrowed a phone from one of the guys as I couldn't get service and arranged for Ron to come and pick me up in the morning at 8:30. I slept in the shelter that night, still crushed at the thought that maybe I was too old for this, and my long-distance hiking days were over. It wasn't a time to be rational, and I didn't even consider that I might be sick. I think I may have gotten about 3 hours of sleep, and I left camp with Julie to be picked up by Ron. I was down, I can tell you, and I even felt disoriented as Ron drove me to the MARTA station, though I didn't say anything to him. I just wanted to be home. While Dana was disappointed for me, she was happy to have me home, and I pretty much moped around the following day. Dana had been experiencing similar symptoms to me, and she suggested we might have COVID. So she brought a couple of COVID and flu tests, only to find that she was positive for flu, though I turned out to be negative. But we were still sure I must have had it. I lightly gave it to her before I'd left the previous weekend. I couldn't see my doctor until Monday this week, and he confirmed what I thought, then checked out my heart, declaring it to be very healthy, and should I choose to, he would have no objection if I returned to the trail. Over the weekend, I'd raised the subject returning to Dana, and she had supported me in a typically selfless manner, and my heart was already on the way. The doctor only confirmed what I knew I'd be doing. So there we are. I'm better again, though with a cough still plaguing me a bit. I'm hopeful it'll be all gone before I leave Tuesday. So this episode is being released on Thursday, March the 19th. The next episode won't be available until probably Monday, March the 30th, when I'll be telling you about the first 4 days back on trail. After that, with any luck, we'll get back into the Thursday, then Monday episodes as I'd originally planned, until I'm done. Look, this isn't how I wanted my hike to work out, but I'm incredibly grateful to have learned from all of you that my podcast matters to you, that I matter to you. And if there's a silver lining to all of this, it is the privilege to learn how much you mean to some people. We don't all get that realisation, but I did. And it's a realisation that I'm very grateful to have been given. So thanks all of you for your messages to me, both when I came home and when I told you I was going back. Above it all, you were concerned about my welfare, and I will never forget that as long as I live. I'll see you in about 10 days' time.